So, I have finally finished the Water 7 saga. Yo, what's good? It's a boy Dude Reviews, and in case you haven't seen the Water 7 / Enies Lobby Saga Arcs, then heavy spoilers for those arcs, you have been warned. So yeah, I finally completed this saga. Definitely the longest saga so far, but what do I think of the saga so far? Well, let's talk about the good. The Water 7 arc might be my favorite arc in One Piece so far. It's definitely the best island they've been to. I love the beauty of Water 7, how the entire city has these gigantic waterfalls. It just looks like a really cool place to have a holiday, dude. I also love the whole storyline within Water 7, how the Straw Hats got blamed for Iceberg being attacked, and this whole mystery on what's been happening, what Nico Robin's up to. All that mystery just really hooked me into this arc. I think this is definitely, without a doubt, the arc where a lot of things started to change. One, let's talk about the visuals. It's the first arc we went into widescreen HD, and because of that they had to slightly retweak the character designs to make them look a little bit more appealing in that HD format, and brother, do they look good. This is definitely one of my favorite eras of the One Piece art styles. I particularly like the way Nami and Robin and Frankie are drawn in this era of One Piece, and as well as like the big upgrade with the art and animation. A lot of the characters got really intense and emotional growths, particularly Usopp, Robin, and Luffy. One of the biggest takeaways from this arc was the Luffy versus Usopp moment. My gosh, definitely without a doubt the most intense and emotional fights I've ever seen in all of One Piece. Possibly one of the most emotional moments in any anime I've seen, and it all kind of stems from a big misunderstanding in a way. I feel like this moment was always going to happen because I remember sometime after Skypiea, Usopp was like freaking out over some of the villains, and I think he said something along the lines of he can't take this anymore and he doesn't know how far he can go. But you know how much Usopp cares for the Mary and how much he loves the Mary. He's the only one who saw that the Mary somehow had some sort of spirit. So I can kind of understand why some of the Straw Hat characters, especially Luffy, were a bit confused as to why Usopp is treating the Mary like it's a person. Regardless, it was intense. Usopp losing faith in Luffy, thinking that he would just abandon his crew like he would abandon the Mary. Man, that really hurt listening to him say that, and Luffy getting really emotional and riled up and triggered by Usopp's words. It's the first time I've ever seen Luffy really angry, and I think it comes from a place of him feeling frustrated that he can't help Usopp emotionally because he's just so angry. This arc really made Luffy grow as a character, how sometimes he doesn't always listen to certain characters. He likes to do things his way, and there is a bit of lack of understanding. I love the entire fight of Usopp versus Luffy, just the way the colors changed, and when there's a lot of shadow over the characters' faces, you know something serious is going to happen. It was emotional seeing them fight and Zoro being like, you've just got to bear it, because if you start to falter now, then who would we follow as a captain? I also like Zoro in this arc. He's just been the rock throughout this entire story arc, and how even after the Enies Lobby arc, he was like, yeah, Usopp did help us and he did fight alongside us to get Robin back, but he still left the Straw Hats. Despite who was in the right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Usopp challenged Luffy to a fight and he has to apologize. Even though this show can be very fun and happy-go-lucky sometimes, being a pirate is serious business, dude, especially if you have a crew that lack trust and faith in one another. If everyone is just bickering and not trusting one another, then how can they move forward? I think Usopp in this arc was just so brave. Like, I think he really grew as a person. He definitely had one of the better character growths. He's always been the coward running away, but even though he was beaten up by Frankie, he still wanted to get the money back and he still wanted to fix the Mary, and I'm not gonna lie, his determination was a little bit scary. Even Frankie looked at him like, what the heck is with this guy? It is in a way revealed that Usopp always knew the Mary was pretty much in danger and she couldn't be repaired, but Frankie was confused. Why did he still pick a fight with Luffy? And he said it's a bit complicated. We all know why. Usopp feels like the weakling. He fears that maybe Luffy would just abandon him like he did the ship. And I felt like him being angry about the Mary was more about him than the ship, which made the situation even more heartbreaking. It got to Luffy so much that he didn't even smile for like 3 to 4 episodes. It was pretty rough. And then let's go into the whole CP9 incident with Robin. And I just like the rest of the arc with CP9 and Iceberg and them trying to clear their names, their first interactions with CP9. I'm not gonna lie, CP9 are a pretty badass group of villains, but as we dive more into this arc, they become kind of sadistic and really cruel, particularly the pigeon guy, Lucci. But I don't think Lucci can even light a candle to possibly one of the most cruelest villains and just one of my least favorite characters of the show. I think his name was called Spanda. My gosh, was this guy an absolute arsehat. He was like an anime version of Joffrey Baratheon. He is such a weakling and a scaredy cat, but because of his position of power, he just belittles and picks on anyone. Just the way he treats Robin and just him slapping her around, it really made me sick. I just couldn't stand this guy. And I have to give credit to Oda for writing such a despicable villain. Oh my gosh. And the voice actor, wow, what a slimy voice that was. The arc really made you see how brutal and corrupt and morally grey the world government is. They talk about peace and justice and they're out for the civilians, but they're just doing it for themselves. It's just so cruel as to the lengths they're willing to go. I mean, annihilating an entire island of people just because they know some of the mysteries surrounding the world. What is it about this blank history that has the government spooked? I like how not everyone in the Navy and the government are entirely corrupt. Aokiji, who saved Nico Robin as a child, he's okay. Even Garp and Kobe are pretty cool. And Helmeppo. It's just the big dogs at the top and the ones that are so warped in their position of power. I want to talk about Robin in this arc. Oh my gosh, you don't even know if she's a hero or not. You don't quite understand why she's doing this. Why did she shoot Iceberg? Why is she doing this? Why is she helping CP9? I love the whole mystery surrounding Robin. Then we find out that she's there to protect them. She made a deal with CP9 that she will go with them if the Straw Hats can live. Then you go into why she is the way she is and we dive deep into her backstory and it's just tragic, just like all the other Straw Hats. I mean, even as a kid, she was always alone. Her mom went off to sail the seas and to discover the truths of the world. Her dad was nowhere to be found. She was just living with her uncle and her adopted aunt who were just really cruel to her. She reminded me of little Harry Potter in the Dursleys' home, the way they treated Robin. The entire village kids hated her. No one really wanted to talk to her because she's part of the people of Oroha, and because she can't always go to the library with pretty much her people because she's a child, she's always on her own. But at least she was able to get through all the tough times with her friend Jaguar D Soul, who has possibly one of the most iconic laughs in all of One Piece. The Navy activate the Busticle because they suspect that the people of Oroha know too much, and I like that moment with one of the elders of the world government who he seemed to show some sort of hesitation when he activated the Busticle, like he didn't really want to do it but he had no choice. So I'm just wondering, what exactly is the world government and what is it that they are hiding and protecting from the world that they have to annihilate innocent people? Not even just the scholars of Oroha, but even some of the civilians who don't have anything to do with any of that. I was honestly shocked. Yeah, I didn't like the kids who were making fun of Robin and all the other people, but they were just ordinary people. Like, damn, I couldn't believe they just shot down that ship. And ever since then, Robin has just been running away from the government. The world has just looked at her like some sort of devil. She's the only one who lived, going from home to home, pirate ship to pirate ship. She couldn't even trust anyone. Every time she thought she found a new friend, they would betray her, they would send her to the government, and it was just so sad seeing this little girl growing up in this cruel world all alone. She had no friends and she just became so jaded. And you find out that the reason why she wanted to run away from the Straw Hats was because she just wanted to die. She feels like death is more bearable than her being betrayed by the Straw Hats. So sad, dude. And Luffy telling Robin, do you want to live? And Robin saying, yes, I want to live. Take me away with you. just heartbreaking. But as well as Robin, we also have Frankie, who was the new member of the Straw Hats. At first, he's in a way their enemy because he was the one who beat up Usopp and stole their money, which led into Luffy and Usopp fighting, and Luffy never really forgave Frankie, even up until when they went to Enies Lobby. He was still really mad at him. But Frankie proved himself to be a true member of the crew, and he really pulled his weight. I remember being quite surprised that Frankie ended up being the shipwright for the Straw Hats. I thought it may be Polly. I still think I enjoyed the Water 7 arc a bit more than the Enies Lobby arc. Some of the fights were really cool, like seeing Chopper's transformation. Holy moly, that was pretty spooky and scary. Just the way he was beating up that one CP9 person. Oh my gosh. I got chills looking at Chopper's demon form. And even seeing Luffy finally defeat Lucci. And it was all pretty much thanks to Usopp, him finally showing his face to Luffy and telling him to get up and to keep fighting. He believes in him. I think Luffy needed to hear that, you know. And I think hearing that from Usopp, it really gave him all the confidence that he needed. And it sort of went back into what Sanji said to Usopp earlier on in this Enies Lobby arc, how people can do some things and people can't do other things. You just have to work on what you can do and leave the things you can't do to other people. Really great message from Sanji. But yeah, I really liked how this arc wrapped up with Luffy defeating Lucci and their names being known to the entire world. Like, it's like what Granny Kokoro said. The moment Luffy steps into Enies Lobby and told Sniper King to burn down the flag, they pretty much declared war on the world government, and now every single pirate in the Grand Line and the New World are gonna know who Monkey D. Luffy is and his crewmates. I really like the Sunny design. Yeah, seeing Usopp finally say sorry to Luffy and apologize to him and begging him to rejoin the crew. Very nice moment. It beautifully wrapped up and put a closure to their fights that they had, and it was really satisfying. You know, the entire arc was very satisfying. They got a new ship, they got both Robin and Usopp back, everyone was on good terms, they defeated CP9, they celebrated and partied. But I like how the final episode of this arc was not very upbeat and it had nothing to do with the Water 7 crew. It was all Blackbeard and Ace and their fight. I remember watching this for the first time thinking it was going to be some sort of 3 to 4 episode fight and battle, and it didn't turn out to be that way. It was just a 1 episode thing. They fight, and the narrator in the end says the reason why we're seeing this fight isn't because we need to see a Blackbeard versus Ace battle, but because this particular battle will cause a huge chain reaction that will change the world forever. And let's talk about the mixed to negatives. And I must admit, I didn't really like the pacing of some of the battles in Enies Lobby. It did drag on for a bit. We kept cutting back and forth to Frankie's battle, to Sanji's battle, to Nami's battle. It was a little bit annoying, and I wish we just sort of dealt with the fight and then just moved on. Another negative that I have, and it's more of a nitpick, it's a bit funny how Granny Kokoro, Chimney, and that rabbit, they just are the only characters that don't feel like they're part of the same universe. Yes, they still have the wacky One Piece designs of really like comedic characters, but even in just the way they're written and the voice actresses of them, they just sound like they were just ripped out of a Ghibli movie. Every time we cut back to them, I felt like I was watching a different show. I was like, what am I watching? Who is this child with this rabbit? Mate, I don't even know. I just found it to be really bizarre and just a bit bonkers. It's a nitpick. I like the characters, but they just felt a little out of place in some of the episodes. I also wish the Foxy Pirates crew arc was a little bit shorter. I felt like it went on for a little bit too long. That could have been a 4 episode arc and we would have been fine, but it went on for so long and it honestly felt like filler even though it was canon. It was cool seeing the Straw Hats relax and just have some fun and games, but it just went on for a bit too long, mate. But Afro Luffy, you cannot deny the Afro. How can anyone deny the greatness of the Afro? Of course Luffy won that fight. But that's pretty much all I have to say with this arc. I just find it mental that the Water 7 arc started in 2004 and ended in 2007. It just made me realize how old this arc and this show is. I mean, 2005, where was I back then? I was a little kid. I think the art and animation have really aged well. It doesn't look dated, and I think because they went digital and widescreen HD, it helped. It honestly looks like a modern anime you'd watch today, and that's the beauty of 2D animation. It never ages. But those are my thoughts and opinions for the Water 7 Saga. I'll give the Water 7 Saga overall an 8.5 out of 10. and an A. But tell me in the comments down below what you guys thought of this saga. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Like this video, subscribe for more anime reactions, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings, and more. But thank you for watching, and as always, a boy dude review signing out.